Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. All right, I think I got the volume thing figured out. My apologies. The screen wigged out on me initially, and I wasn't really sure what was going on there. The whole thing kind of went nuts. But Hanson, I appreciate your tip there, because sometimes people don't say anything, and you can go on for a while uh, without anyone letting you know. So much appreciated there. Uh, oh, all right, cool. So Facebook looked like it froze. The whole thing went nuts right as soon as I hit live, which is always the case when you go live. It's got to be something. Appreciate that, Hanson. Yeah, so I wanted to take some time today. Uh, First of all, to say thank you. If you're not aware, we did cross the 10,000 follower plateau on Facebook. So for those of our Facebook, so those of you who are following us on Facebook, just want to say thank you. We're all in this together. We very much appreciate it. YouTube does not distribute our content as well. I don't know what the difference in that is, but we're still doing okay with YouTube. But I mean, Facebook, we actually are able to monetize now. I don't know what that means. Probably going to be like $20, but nonetheless, it's just a compliment from you guys to us, and to me for this show. So it kind of validates, what we're trying to do here. And earlier in the week, I put out a video on the situation in China. And you may say, well, George, you're a channel that's focused on Article 5 of the Constitution, calling for a convention of states. You do a lot of work on Great Reset and those. So, what is it about China that intrigues you so? And in the end, what intrigues me about China is I don't think people realize the historic nature of what is going on right now in China. They are still in the streets protesting. It's been like 4 days now, 5 days. This is not the same as, like, some protest breaks out in Portland, or a Tea Party protest or Yellow Jacket protest. Like when you protest in China, you are literally putting your life on the line. You are literally making a decision to say, what they're doing is more analogous, I guess, to like the founders of America, conspiring against Britain, like this, and stepping up and getting ready to take on that fight. Because I mean, already there are rows and rows and rows of police in the streets of China ready to take this thing on, and everybody is watching, myself for sure, intently, to see. Now, it's not easy to get information out of there, which is another reason why I did the video, because you know the major networks have somewhat been covering this, so it's not like there's a blackout going on this. But this is historic because it doesn't happen often. Like, this is not, the Chinese people do not rebel. All right, they just don't. And to get them to a point, and we know the rest of the world's on fire, right? We all know it. Whether you're in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, we're all on fire, right? We've all got governments who are doing dumb stuff, and we're all paying the price for it, right? And these are the same doos that want to take control of everything, right? So the whole world's on fire. Well, China's no different. Like, we don't even realize that these people have been in lockdown. There are 400 million people in China that are still in COVID lockdown. Just wrap your head around that. All right. These people, and like, one reporter was saying that the people that died in the building. So if you don't know the full story of why they're protesting and what triggered this, there was a building in China, in the Xinjiang region of China, where I can't pronounce the other one. I gotta see it in order to pronounce it. It's like Umbichi or Umabich. I forget. But anyway, there was a tall residential building that caught fire, and there are videos that people from the building were shooting of the fire engines not being able to get to the location to put out the fire because of blockades and metal barriers and things of that nature regarding to a COVID lockdown. Now, these people have been in that building for months. Right? They've been in that building for months, and we all know what quarantine is like. We don't all know what it's like on that level, right? Like, even in our worst days of quarantine, where we're screaming for our freedom, that we were still going to Costco. We were still getting, we're still buying stuff. We're still going around. Things were they weren't functioning properly, but they were functioning. Here, things aren't functioning at all. So these people, in the midst of this, in the midst of all this frustration, they're seeing on their social media, right? So I forget the name of it, but it's essentially TikTok in China, right? TikTok is a Chinese CCP app, right? Which is why we put out videos saying, get your kids off TikTok. They're mining your data, right? Over dog videos. Like, get your kids off TikTok. But anyway, so it goes viral, starts getting everywhere that these COVID restrictions are stopping them from getting there. So 10 people died and 9 people were injured. And in the midst of it all, as this spread around on social media, like, people just met their breaking point, and they just made a decision. And it's not just in the Xinjiang area, in Beijing, all over China. Okay, that thousands of people have hit the streets and are now, they're not just screaming about the fire, they're screaming down with Xi Jinping, and that's something that concerned me, for their safety. Right, and on one side you're like, yeah, go get them, but on the other side it's like, man, you guys better be ready to come at them in mass, because you can take them out if you come at them in mass, but you can't, like, once the police start swinging or shooting or whatever it may be, like, you can't just all run for your lives. You got to go forward. And that's one of the catches here, is that these people, it's dangerous as hell what they're doing, but it's admirable as hell what they're doing as well. And it's another testament, to what's going on and the way the world is on fire right now. Even the Chinese people are stepping to the plate and starting to come back, right? And this, you got to understand, these people don't know freedom, right? They don't know freedom. They've never lived in freedom ever. Their parents and grandparents have never. There really has never been a full state of freedom in China ever. There's, like, forever, thousands of years, always been an emperor or some sort of, top dog dictator that has been running the show. Some of them were less notorious than others, but there's never been full, like, say what the hell you want freedom. I mean, as an American, even as a Brit or or an Aussie, like, you can't even relate to what goes through these guys' heads. And so, but now, like, human nature is screaming so loud that it's just like, we want to be free. So, it's an interesting situation. And Warren Owens, on Facebook, people in lockdown will all join protests out. They left them out, with the amount of protesters already. Yeah. Well, like I said, the people coming, these people weren't allowed to leave that are in the streets now. I mean, this was one of those deals where just people just said F this and started storming their doors and going out into the streets. I mean, this is about as organic as it gets. And even with the restrictions on internet in China, it couldn't be like, the word got around fast enough before they could kill it, to make sure that enough people found out and made a big deal about it. So, and then, Donna Burleson over on Facebook. So that's right, in mass. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to do this, and the thing is, it's not organized, right? It's not organized. So it's just like, they all just went out there, but they have to be on the streets making an agreement with each other right now. Like, we're not going back inside, right? But my concern is that, because they don't really know freedom, you know, Xi Jinping could just be like, all right, you know what? We're going to lift some of the COVID restrictions, and lift some of this and that, which means nothing to him to do. But my fear is that they'll all be like, okay, great, thank you, we won, yay, and then go back into and that's what concerns me about it, is that they're just gonna give in. But, Robert Sweeney again on Facebook, and there are people in America that think they want this type. Yeah, us that think they want this type of government. They have no idea. Yeah, absolutely. It's. I mean, look, the Chinese people will tolerate less freedom than Americans will. There is some level, of reality to that, and it's for the reasons I just said. They've never really had full blown freedom the way we've taken for granted here in the U.S. and in other countries, in some other countries. I mean, the U.S. in particular, with the constitutional protections on some of these things, whereas the Chinese just don't know what that is. Now, that doesn't mean they don't want it. right? That doesn't mean they don't want it. It doesn't mean that they're happy under Xi Jinping. It doesn't mean that these people would be more than happy to watch this guy go down. They'd be more than happy to have a representative government. They'd be more than happy. I mean, that's what they want. But will they get it? You know, it's going to come down. I mean, literally, they're in the situation that like the United States was back in the mid 1700s. Where they got to make decisions, and it's going to the founders of the U.S. It was not it was it was an insurgency that they were planning, right? So it's treason. I mean, if they get caught, they get hung, right? And it's going to be no different for the people in China. And I heard from one of the reports that the police were actually going through the streets and slapping people with ink, and the ink is apparently so that later on when this whole thing ends, they can identify who was there and who wasn't because the ink doesn't come off. So it's not like it's gonna, and this is why I say they're gonna, now that you've made the decision to go out there, you gotta finish it out because they're gonna come back and kill you anyway. So at this point, you've gotta, you gotta go all in. As soon as they see that ink getting slapped around, they gotta know, like, look, I got nothing to lose now. Now I got nothing to lose. And that's the way that they need to be thinking, And then Robert over at Facebook. So this is why our government wants to take away our Second Amendment. You can't control a population that can fight back. Yeah, absolutely, right. And there's that classic, and there's some dispute as to whether or not it was said by the Japanese general who had said, as he was warning against invading the United States mainland, and the reason being, and his comment, according to the quote, was that there will be a firearm behind every blade of grass, and so that became a big deal, that quote, and then it started people saying it wasn't exactly attributable to him, but in the end it's true nonetheless, and that's the reason why the quote has lived on, is because whether he said it or not, it's true. Like there will be a firearm behind every blade of grass. So like there's no disarming the population, and to our friends over in Australia, you guys, you dropped the ball on that one. You dropped the ball on that one. It's a large reason why they were able to do to you guys what they just did, and I don't know how you get it back once you give it up. So I don't know. Maybe there's something in the works in Australia to try and get those rights back. But once you give up rights, man, they ain't easy to get back. That's for sure. That's for sure. So, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. But anyway, the Chinese situation, it's brutal, right? It's brutal. We're not even getting into things like the Uyghurs and the internment camps, and I mean, this guy Xi Jinping, he makes Hitler look like a little kid. He makes Hitler look like some little rookie because he does it so much more masterfully than Hitler did. I mean, he's got the internment camps. He's killing people in mass. He's slaughtering Christians by the hundreds, if not thousands, at this point. And the world is just blind to it. The same way that the world was. It's willful ignorance, right? Nobody wants to. The NBA still goes there and still cuts deals with them. These companies, American corporations, still high on China, right? Everybody looking at them because there's money there, and they've been able to success. So they exploited two things about the United States over the last 70 years. They exploited capitalism and they exploited our diversity. Those two things, they were able to use the diversity as a tool against us to create the division, right? And they were able to use capitalism and for those large corporate execs who just couldn't turn away from big deals. And they just, over the decades, just kept buying in. And at no point did they turn around and say, hey, wait a minute. Maybe it's not, even though the money's good, maybe it's not a good idea to jump on board with China. So I got a buddy of mine, Ruben, just jumped on. I sent him out an invite earlier. Let's get him on here. Ruben, how are you, sir?
Sorry. How are you? I don't know if you're allowed to drink on the stream.
I don't really know, to be honest with you. Not sure what the rules are there. I don't know. What do you got there? The scotch?
No, scotch is in the kitchen.
Oh, my bad. Oh, okay. Yingling.
Oldest American.
My East Coast friend with
Do you
the
remember when
Yingling.
you turned me on to this? When you were working at Hula Hands, and it was the biggest secret, the
And
best
the
kept
and the
secret.
irony. So for those that don't know, Yingling is the oldest brewery in America, and it is only accessible in certain states. So I can't even. The irony is, I can't even get a Yingling if I want one. I'd have to like have my brother mail me a case of Yingling, which would be like $1 million for the weight of it. But but I can't even access it. I have no access. So, Ruben, have you listened to what I was saying earlier? Have you been listening
I
in on the
didn't. I
show?
just jumped on. I was in the car, unfortunately, so I just
All
caught the
good, all
last
good.
little
Yeah,
bit of China.
yeah. I was commenting on the protests in China, the significance of the protests in China, because these kind of things don't happen, right? Like the Chinese don't. I mean, they happen very
Once every
rarely.
30 years.
Yeah, they happen very, very rarely, right? Tiananmen Square was probably the last time that one of this size has broken out, and this one is still growing. So, and did you? So, are you up on the story? Do you know like the
Oh
fire and
yeah.
all that stuff?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And with them welding the doors shut of people that they
yeah.
can't get out. Have you seen those videos?
I didn't see the welding of the doors. No, that's new. So they're welding doors shut of
Yeah,
people trying to get out of. Oh, so that they can't join the protests.
so they can't leave their building.
And see, but people are going to find a way out though. Like you can weld my door shut in the building, but I'll get out. Like anyone who grew up in the '80s as a teenager will figure out a way to get out. Like we all did in the middle of the night, right? Like to go hang. Like that's just you'll figure out a way to get out. But we'll see. I mean, clearly they see this as a threat, and you know my concern because they were like putting ink on these people so that after the protest they can identify who was there and who wasn't. And you know what I was saying earlier is like if you're someone that got ink thrown on you, you need to be all in. Like you need to be all the frick in. Like at that point, because they're gonna come for you anyway. There's no walking away from this thing once once that goes down. There's no walking away. Like you go back to your house after these protests are done, and you're gonna get that knock on the door, and they're gonna be checking for people with ink on them. And anyone who has it on them is going straight to the brick. And you may never see those people again.
Well, don't they have all facial recognition in China too? Don't they like the leaders in that they
They
can?
have it, but like honestly, even like facial recognition is almost perfect, but it's not. It's good, but what they don't have right now is the high speed network. This is why 5G is such a big deal because there's just this huge ton of technology that's been developed and is ready to be released, but they don't have the data connection that's fast enough to do things like the way they want to. And so they're waiting for this 5G element to roll out everywhere. And I don't mean that the stuff T-Mobile's rolling around is not it's not for your smartphone. Like this is that millimeter wave stuff where like it connects to buildings and handles edge computing and like and that stuff. But that takes a lot longer to build out than the other forms of 5G. But like automated cars, all of that stuff is just waiting for 5G to be fully implemented and everywhere. And then once it's like ready, you're just going to see this flood of technology just fly out the gates, dude. It's going to be nuts. Surgeons are going to be doing major precision surgeries from overseas. Like it's going to be crazy. Like you're going to start seeing all this tech fly out. So they have the tech, but it ain't really. You got to deal with nighttime. You got to deal with freaking, what are there, thousands of people. I mean, to capture all those faces is like, it's like I said, I don't think it's there yet. But
It works
and if
really
it
good.
was, they wouldn't be hitting people with ink, right?
Works really good in MSG.
Yeah, but if it worked that well, they wouldn't be inking people, right?
That's crazy. What, the ink doesn't? You can't wash the ink
Can't
off.
get it off. So now it takes like weeks for it to come off. So like in the end, all they got to do now is everybody who's got ink on them. If you got ink on you, you were clearly there. So like, there's no denying that. You know what I mean? If you were just some poor schlep going to get a loaf of bread or something and got inked, oh well.
It's crazy. The biggest thing I saw that was the funniest thing of the week I saw was the Prime Minister up north, Trudeau. What's his name? Commenting on how the protesters should be allowed, and this is a guy that threatened truckers to go to jail for protesting,
freezing their bank accounts, like
freezing bank
friggin'
accounts.
Yeah, Trudeau's a hot look. They're all in the same club, right? I mean, we do videos. I do videos on this all the time. This Great Reset, and like these guys are all in the same gang. And I tell you, of all the Great Reset videos I've done, the one that highlights all these world leaders acknowledging the Great Reset is the one that always does the best, because that's the one that you can hand to the person who refuses to believe it's going on. And like, here, listen to King Charles. Like here, he's telling you, right? Here's King Charles, Biden, Soros, Klaus, Trudeau. They're all in on the same game. They're all in, and it's more than that. It's like 90 countries, and that's actually what I was going to talk about after the China piece. Was I wanted to let people know, and you might not know either. Maybe I'll give you my logins. You can go check it out. But are you subscribed to Epoch Times?
No, but I
All
just
right.
click next time, and I can pretty much read everything.
No, but this is on Epic TV. So Epic
Oh, okay.
TV, they do they got a ton of like awesome documentaries on there. And like and one of them they just came out with, I swear to you, like if you go back and look at the videos that I've produced over the last year and a half, it looks like they've just been following my channel and then came out with a friggin' documentary. Like as the documentary was going on, obviously it's much better produced than my stuff. But like as the documentary was going on, they're using clips that I like. I'm saying what the person's going to say before they say it, because I've used the exact same clip. Like, and I pulled it off raw footage, but we both grabbed exactly the same clip. Like all of these different pieces. A lot of it was about ESG. So it's called the shadow state, and it's basically talking about how like are you familiar with ESG? Like what that is, how it works?
What does it stand for? And I'll tell you.
Environment, social justice, and governance.
No, please fill
All right.
me in.
Yeah. Yeah. So so ESG is basically a market standard that's been put up. It's the reason why Coca-Cola will have a training that says "Be less white." It's the reason why Disney will side with
So
pedophilia.
is it like a score like that? Is it
Yeah,
almost like a
yeah. So it's literally
CUSAC score?
think like a credit score, right? Think like that. Like it's treated the same
How
way.
woke you are? Is that what it is? It's almost like
Basically. So, and the way that they're implementing it is through BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. So what they're doing, and if people aren't familiar with BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, go read. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
please get
They're
involved.
huge.
Please realize what those are.
Yeah, they're huge investment firms who control trillions of American taxpayer dollars, not tax dollars, taxpayer dollars. So just American people's dollars. So people invest, and when you invest in a mutual fund or anything like that, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, these are the companies who end up managing that money. And most people have no idea that their funds are even running through BlackRock. But what BlackRock is doing is they're basically telling people, you know, here's what we want you to do, and they'll lay out like maybe it's a trans agenda this year, maybe the next year it's social justice, some push to social justice, maybe it's to take out, like right now they're taking out oil companies, so they've been slowly underfunding oil companies for like the last 10 years, and so that's like one piece of it. Another, but they'll use it as a weapon. So if a company like Disney doesn't, and I think Disney is a little deeper than this. I don't but this is a good example. If a company, or let's use Coca-Cola, because I think Disney is just creepy on their own right. Like I don't even think they need BlackRock to be creepy.
Sidebar: Disney might be turning the table a little bit with their new CEO, firing the CEO, and they're about to lose $100 million on their new movie, and they lost a ton of money on Lightyear. They're realizing that people
Right.
don't want this agenda.
No,
They
but they
don't want
know.
it to be shoved
So
down
hear
their
me
throat.
out, because this is what I'm saying. Like they know people don't want to watch this. It's not like they were under the illusion that these shows were going to make money. They know they're not going to make money. Coca-Cola knows that this training is going to get leaked. You're telling the white employees that you have to be less white. They know it's going to get. They know it's going to be it's going to be leaked. So why would you do that? Right? It makes no sense. You know you're going to lose money when it becomes national news that you're telling your employees to be less white. Well, there's a reason why they do it. Because it's not about now. It's about the future. So the companies that are on board with this process and with this ESG standard, all right, those who are on board and play nice, they're going to be rewarded in the future. The ones who do not, the ones who try to stand up for what's right and say I don't want any part of this, those companies are going to be attacked. And attack, when I say attacked, I mean you can use Elon Musk as an example. Okay. So yeah, all right, he bought Twitter and he's triggering a bunch of people and whatever. But as Twitter starts to move forward and he starts to unleash because there's going to be a data dump out of Twitter. Musk has already said it. He's going to be releasing, all the dirt that he finds, and he's going to find dirt. Like they can't eliminate the emails trails they'd have to actually destroy the servers to do that. And even then, you'd have to eliminate it on every server that it showed up on. Like they're going to release these conversations.
Wait, are you saying everything I've ever done online is alive out there somewhere?
That's correct.
Uh-oh.
But they're not going after Twitter directly, right? They're going after Tesla. They're going after SpaceX. Like they didn't do anything wrong, but that's where they're going. Like Tesla scored poorly on these ESG scores. All right, this is a company who literally made the electric car buyable. Right? This is a company when everybody was looking at electric cars like no freaking way, kind of like I'm looking at them still today. Tesla came out with this car and made it cool. And people then wanted to buy.
Bro, my kid wants a Tesla
cars
so bad.
Yeah, and he made it cool. But this is a guy who doesn't do well on these scores because the ESG scores for Tesla were not based on the environmental. They were based on the real power metric, which was the social. So the social and governance. So governance is not government. It's internal governance of your company. So it's basically making sure that you're running it woke. Right, it's making sure that that you're following the woke metric and doing all that, and so like that's where. So anyway, this has been around for 10 years, 15 years. It's just now it's at a point where it's like serious. Like now, this documentary breaks it all down. So Robert Sweeney says the mark of the beast. I think that was when we were talking about the ink. And he says right here, he says, here's one before the blue ink. So let me put it in context what he's saying here. The blue ink that is being put on Chinese protesters can be considered. And then he says the mark of the beast. So, and yeah, the mark of the beast, though, is a little bit deeper than this ink. Like this ink is really just what it is. What it is. Like they're going to round these people up that have ink on them, and they're going to start killing them. And that's going to be that. And it's going to be over. Mark of the Beast, where that got crazy was if you didn't know this one, Rube, the Homeland Security Department has patented a bioluminescent tattoo made with nothing else than luciferase, the bioluminescent luciferase. And it's designed, it's a tattoo that they can stamp on you with these little micro needles. And the tattoo is like a barcode. So like you can't see it, but it can be scanned because the bioluminescence is like it's kind of like a firefly, right? Like right. What makes them glow,
like those animal, like those things in the water in Jamaica.
Yeah. So with that, you'll be tattooed with this thing. You won't see the tattoo, but it can be scanned, and then anything, whatever they link that scan to, whatever they link that barcode to, which will likely be an enormous amount of files on you on a cloud, somewhere, and all of your data will come up. And Homeland Security, not a university, not like some, young inventor, Homeland Security patented this. So, and then it got fact checked. So everyone of faith pretty much was like, that's the mark of the beast immediately when they found out that this was patent. And then they fact checked the prophecy. I was like, did they just fact check a prophecy? It was like they make the title look like Homeland Security didn't do it, but then they admit that Homeland Security did it. And then they're like, and it is not the mark of the beast. Like, how would you know, fact checker? It's a prophecy. Like, but they're like,
Anakin is not the
God
chosen
now.
one. Fact check. Anakin was not the chosen one. It was actually his son Luke. Queen John was wrong. Obi-Wan was wrong.
Yeah.
Mace Windu was
Exactly.
right all along.
Exactly. But like, I was going through this documentary. I was watching it last night, and I'm just saying to myself, dude, all the stuff that they're putting in this documentary is all stuff that I've covered on this channel. Through, I mean, everything, and right down to, they did some on the on the food situation with the Netherlands and like the nitrates and all that, like the fact that they're banning nitrates and fertilizer. Netherlands is about to the number one agriculture country in the world.
Didn't they just ban 500, take a license away from 500 farmers or something like that? It was in Netherlands because
I don't know that they
their
took the
climate change. Because
licenses
they
away, but what they're doing is they're banning nitrate. They're banning nitrate rich fertilizer. So like artificially nitrate rich fertilizer. And so because they're saying it's not climate friendly. The problem with that is you're literally cutting in half the production of the largest agriculture nation on earth, which I didn't even know until they started messing with them. But but the prime minister there, I think his name is Mark Rutte. He, he's uh he's on board. He was on board with these food innovation hubs that the WEF has going on, which just magically are up and running before the decision was made to cut the nitrates. Canada's doing the same thing, and they've got these food innovation hubs. They were talking about this in 2020, how there's going to be a food crisis, and how they're this is so clearly planned out for them to create the drama, and then after they're done creating it, to come back and try and save us from it. That it's insane that everyone doesn't see it. It's just crazy to me that, and this is how I started learning about mass formation, because I'm just it's impossible to not understand it's impossible to not see what they're doing. They're telling you. They're doing seminars on it. They're posting it. It's not even like you need a guy with a cell phone camera in the seminar recording. They're putting it on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? It's like people still. I
I know
was
they
talking to my
literally.
nephew. He says I can't watch an hour and 20 minutes anything. That's great. That's great. So that you'll just never
Well, where's
know
the best?
anything.
I mean, honestly, where's the best thing to hide something?
Oh yeah,
In
no, I
in
agree. I
plain
agree.
sight. They always say the best place to hide is in plain sight.
But it's not even like they're hiding it in plain sight, though. They're actively trying to make you know about it. It's like they're going out of their way, because they're in the phase now where it's about implementation at this point. They're not trying to sell you on the idea. They could care less if you like the idea or not. They're taking control of the food supply. They're taking control of the monetary system. They're taking control. You want to revolt? Go ahead. You got no money, right? What are you going to do? You're going to put all your money in gold and just walk around paying for things in gold coins?
gold
At some,
doubloons.
yeah. I mean, what you got a piece of gold like this big and it's worth a freaking $1,000 something, $1,600? What are you going to do? How small do you have to get to make a coin? It's almost like razor thin. You know what I'm saying? To try and get a coin that's actually worth $1. You know what I mean? Think about that, right? You'd have to take a piece of gold this big and shave it into 1,600 pieces in order to get $1. That's crazy. But that's what you'd have to do if you want. If you like it, that's the point. It's you could be yelling, "I can't. I'm not doing this. I'm not. I will resist." Yell all you want. If you don't stop them up front, once they go digital with the currency, they're not going to be like, "What do you think about this currency?" They're going to be like, here's where you could get, here's how you can log in to have your currency converted. If you don't convert it by this date, all banks will automatically be converted. It's not going to be like, would you like to convert to digital currency? Right?
No, but public credits are no good anymore.
Yeah, that's what this is. That's what it's literally going to be like.
It literally is. It's just frustrating.
And people think there's some level of resist. Okay, what are you going to do? People are oh, the Second Amendment. All right, well, where are you getting bullets? Oh, well, I got a stockpile in my house. Okay, but that's not infinite. So you could have a garage full of bullets, but I guarantee you everyone doesn't have a garage full of bullets. And in the end, even if you do have a garage full of bullets, you can't pay for anything. Like you're not going to be able to eat. You're not going to be able to like they're going to be controlling literally every energy. They're going to be controlling the energy sector. They're going to control everything. Everything meaningful, right? Everything meaningful. And it's like at that point, you're just some dude sitting in his house with his rifle, with no electricity, a bag of gold, and freaking, and that's it.
You
And the
know what?
world's going on around you.
We'll get like 100 hamsters, make a bunch of hamster wheels.
Just start getting creative.
Have
Bring
just a
out
whole bunch of hamsters running in your backyard, running around.
that old American ingenuity, right?
It's scary, and that's why, like offline, we've talked about buying land, and it's you hear more and more people that like the American dream now is no longer a white picket fence and a job and 2 kids. The American dream is turning into 16 acres of land with a brook running through it, a couple goats, a chicken, and a house, and a mule. You know what I mean? Like 40
It's
acres
not
of
even a
mule
joke,
now is not what it used to mean. It's like a serious like. I
right?
joke around with Jamie all the time. We were looking online. For those of you that remember from last time, I lost the election. I got 1,844 votes, which was pretty good. But my competitors, they spent $20,000 on a free election. So I hit a little speech, and I decided enough of the advocacy for the whole town trying to save all the children. I'm just going to focus on my own children. You know what I mean, and getting them out of schools. But even with the Catholic school, my kid goes to Catholic school. They don't say the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
and
I'm in the belly of the beast here in Cali, and every school in the
so
surrounding areas says the Pledge of
So we were
Allegiance.
looking around, online, and we're looking to move down south, maybe Virginia, maybe South Carolina. Um, I was partial to Tennessee because they're one of the 7 states with no uh, uh, income tax, and so I was looking around, and I found 16 acres for $70,000 in Tennessee with fresh water.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of looking at those with my brother right now. We were looking in South Carolina, and and you got to be careful though, because there's some things that like some of the properties you look at are just be
Yeah, they're
careful.
like
We'll talk
hunting
about that
ground.
one offline, but
But
like
I but
some of
that
them are like you got to look for flood
obviously
zones
I
and
wasn't drilling down and really going in,
right,
but
right.
just while you're looking on Zillow and you're just like, "Ooh,
It's very
look
affordable though. To
like
just
look at
purchase
this."
land is very affordable.
Like, wow, imagine just, being there and gardening and,
People who
like
own land are going to be king. Like that is my take on everything that I've been like. I sat down with some financial advisors, and we were just kind of talking to them about our retirement and my wife's my wife's a school, she works for schools, and so she's got a pension, and we're trying to plan everything out. And as they're telling me like places to invest money, I'm just thinking in my head, like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I ain't putting my money there. Like, I don't even want to leave my money in Bank of America. Like I don't even like Bank of America. Like these really big banks, like because of this ESG stuff, I don't trust them either.
well, I don't know if you saw, I think it was, what's her name? Is it Corey Bush or Carrie Bush, the one, she's part she's part of the squad. What's this,
Oh,
uh, you know, um, but where there was a Senate, one of the House, you know, one of these
right.
grandstanding things, and they actually asked the Bank of America CEOs, would you stop doing business with any uh, with oil companies? And they were like, no. Like that was one time I was like, oh, thank God for that, But the fact that they even asked a question like, will you stop doing, like, why would you stop doing business with anybody? You know what I mean? And
Well,
it's
the
and the
reason
fact that
they're
they asked
asking
the
that is
question, that
because of
even though they said
ESGs.
no, it means going forward they're going to keep on until they do stop doing
Yeah,
business with people.
and it's clearly not for the environment. Like people need to just snap out of this climate thing because what they're doing, like this whole going solar, like people don't realize the toxicity of solar panels. Like when these solar panels, all these ones that have been added on in the last 10 or 15 years, they have about a 20-year lifespan, maybe 30 years for
And
the
they're
newer
not
ones.
recyclable.
No, they're complete hazardous waste.
Right.
They're classified as hazardous waste.
I
So
know.
you're going to end up in a situation now with just massive amounts of hazardous solar panels being dumped in landfills, being that, and it's like this is like the mercury bulb thing where they thought it was so energy efficient to use those twisty mercury bulbs that you can never get out, you can't put in right. Like those friggin' things were a disaster. And now there were mercury all over the freaking in all these landfills. There's mercury. It's like they don't think this stuff
Well,
through.
it's
You
not
know,
much different with an electric car. You know, to get the lithium you need for one of those batteries, the amount of fossil fuels you need to dig it out of the ground is
so I was
triple to what
watching the
you're ever
thing
going to use on a
yesterday.
car.
I was
Like,
watching the thing yesterday saying that uh, I think this might have been in the documentary actually was it takes 80,000 an electric car has to run for 80,000 miles to make up for the footprint for the carbon
yeah,
footprint to
it's
create it. And it's like and diesel was like half of that. And
you know.
and I'm just sitting there like, but nobody wants to hear that. Like no one cares that electricity comes from coal. Like no one cares about that.
Oh, they had our esteemed vice president. I don't know if you saw her. She was at an event in Detroit, and they opened a whole new. I forgot where it was, but they opened a whole new charging station. You know, and they were so proud of this charging station. You know, this charging station is gonna revolutionize all these people now can charge their cars. And then one reporter was like, "Where's the energy come from?"
I saw that. I
And
saw
she
that.
was like, I don't know. And they asked the guy who was like in charge of the,
Yeah.
the grid, and he was like, well, 97% of our energy comes from fossil fuels. So you're just using fossil fuels to charge your freaking electric
Yeah.
car. What
It's
the
like
frick is the
charging your phone.
difference? Yeah.
It's like
But you know what?
charging your
When
phone.
you say that, like about the footprint, I saw an interesting thing, almost a similar thing on veganism. You know, vegans will tell you that it's irresponsible. You're killing animals. That's why you shouldn't eat a cow, right? You shouldn't eat meat because you're killing a cow.
Right. Yeah.
Do you realize here's something? And I'll look it up. I'll find it if you want me to share the link, just so people don't think I'm making up. 74% of statistics are made up, right? Um, so like, but I will find the link to where the article was if you need me to. But it said to have the same amount of protein that you get from meat, say from some beef, to get the same amount of protein from beef from a vegan diet, you're killing 55 times more animals. Because when you think about it, when you're digging up broccoli or you're digging up whatever, lettuce, you're killing tiny little animals,
Ah.
right? So, so theoretically, each one of those is a
So
little
now they
animal
want to put that
life.
on your plate.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know. So I can't eat meat, but killing crickets is fine, right?
Yeah.
Like
But
it's like
that's the
that.
thing. Well, it's the
It's like
farts, Ruben. It's the farts.
if you ever
It's the
seen the
cow
thing, it's
farts.
like where's the line, and they show animals, and it's like a dog, cat, a rabbit, a horse, and it's like, why is the line here? Why can you eat these? Well, because these are delicious and these are gamey. Okay, that's why. You think so? Hey, look who chimed in!
I see him there.
Oh,
Mr.
look who else
Mr.
chimed in!
Taco.
Oh, look who else chimed in! Big Bug is on the chat on the check-in. I thought this was the AOC live chat and
For those
discussion.
that don't know, these are fraternity brothers, old school fraternity brothers jumping in. They're they are on you. They're watching through YouTube right now. So, what's up, gentlemen? And he said, so they're trolling me right now with the. I thought this was the AOC live
Hey, can
discussion.
we can invite AOC on here? She wouldn't even know. She'll do any interview. We just put on some freaking I love Bernie shirts, and she'll be on here in a minute. I mean, she gets trolled all the time. People go up, and I don't know if you saw Project Veritas trolled her. They were like, "I drove so far to see you," and then they asked her like some question about her policies, and she like stormed off. But
Yeah, she's a dude to do she's a dude to do with a 10th degree.
it was
Oh
I
man.
just so Paul knows, I also text Richard Tompkins, but I think it's way past his bedtime. So
Who? Oh, did you?
yeah, you don't even remember his name was Rich.
Yeah. He caught me off guard. Caught me off guard. Yeah, man, but friggin' but I definitely recommend this documentary though. If you don't have Epic TV, I'll give you my log. I'll text you my logins after this. But like, it's called Shadow. It's called the Shadow State, and I'm telling you, Ruben, when I watched this thing, I was like, it's spot on, and it's a good production as it always is with Epic TV. But it's spot on, and it uses literally, it's like a merge of all the videos that I've put out in like the last year and a half. It's crazy when I was watching it. I'm like, I know this clip. I found that clip. I'm like, it almost looks like they took it from my stuff. Like where the clip begins and ends is like right where I clipped it and ended it. You know what I mean? Like either that or we're in perfect alignment as to as to where it has to stop. But like, so Justin saying
Don't read the comments. Don't read the comments.
I know some of them I'm ignoring, but here you got
No,
one.
no,
So,
Justin is a big 2A fan now. Let me just tell you, Justin is a big 2A fan. He has one of the first concealed carries in New Jersey, because so many people don't even know you could get concealed carries in New Jersey. They said it was going to take months, and Bug got it in about a week, and he's actually working.
It's not as hard around as people think. Like even here in Cali, like my guy that I have to go through to like purchase ammo and stuff. I bought my guns. I bought my Glocks from him. He's a sheriff out here, and he was like, when I first like started getting into it and bought myself some firearms, I'd asked him. I said, "What do I got to do to get a concealed carry permit?" And he, because I was like, I read up on it, and it was all this stuff that they were saying, like oh, you gotta have good cause, you gotta have this and that. And I was like, well, what about good cause? He was like, just go to the sheriff's department and tell them you want one. He's like,
Well, was
and they'll
that
make it
after the
happen.
New York City? Was that after the New York State Supreme Court? Thank you, Paul.
No,
Was
this
that
was
after
before that. It's always
No.
been that way. Where I live in California is nothing like LA, or like where I live, they have to keep redistricting everything so that they could keep it Democrat. Like they're constantly redistricting everything so that they could keep, because like it's like red. Like if you just left it alone, like this city, that city, but they'll take like this chunk of this city, attach it to this city, and like by me, cities are kind of like boroughs, like they're not, there might be 100,000 people in a city. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some of them. So it's not like a city, but like all these little cities, they'll hand pick, districts out of them, and then they'll take just the Republican blocks and make them vote on their own, and then group everybody else together. It's a game, but the fact is though, Justin, don't worry about it. Nobody's taking Second Amendment rights away.
It's funny. Paul says he could go to NYC now because he has his concealed carry, but he would much rather use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu to kick somebody's ass than shoot him. I can tell you that. But he loves rolling around on the floor with men.
Yeah. so, so you're saying here after the Supreme Court ruling made it easier in New Jersey. Yeah, the Supreme Court ruling was a big deal there. There was a big ruling here too in Cali with the size of the magazines. So if you, I think they do that to you guys in Jersey too. I don't know about New
10
York.
rounds, I think.
10 rounds, right? So that's about to get shot down. So that this was like a year and a half ago. A San Diego court shot it down. They tried to appeal it, and the appeals court shot it down. And then they appealed it again, and they got it upheld. But now it's going to be on its way to the Supreme Court. So you know what's going to happen there. It finally went to the Ninth Circuit, which is like the most overturned court on earth, and then they put it back in. But now they're going to head it to the Supreme Court, and once that happens, that whole 10, and that's the thing, right? Like everyone says how they keep violating the Constitution. Oh, nobody pays attention to the Constitution now. It's like, yeah, they do. People just keep testing it. Yeah, it's like,
Well,
but the Constitution keeps prevailing. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if you know what Murphy's trying to do in New Jersey, and because I have an opinion. I'm of the opinion that gun control is inherently racist, right? Because this is how we play the game, right? I can blame anything on racism, right? And if you think I'm wrong, we can look at the two times when gun control started, right? In the 1930s was the first time you had gun control, and why did that happen? Because the Italians started to get in Tommy guns, and the mafia was around. All right, then we didn't really have much gun control laws again because World War II started, and we were all American and patriotic. And one of the reasons we never were attacked during World War II was because we had thousands of farmers that had guns all over millions, actually. Oh, that's my daughter. She's locked out. I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
That's all right, Ruben. It's not like we're live or anything. Oh my God, this is so goes the live
Sorry,
broadcast.
real
All
life
good.
is
All
happening.
good.
So then the second time it happened was when the Black Panthers stood on the California Capitol, all armed to a T, right? And that was actually our buddy Ronald Reagan, who had gun control laws in California. So I say that gun control is inherently racist, right? So last week, but hear me out, because I'm just playing the game. Okay, remember, I'm just playing the game. That anything you don't like is racist, right? Because that's the playbook, right? So Governor Murphy is trying to raise the price of gun. Right now, it's $7 to get a gun permit. $7. He's trying to raise it to almost $500 to get a gun permit. Thank you. That's why I have children. And he's trying to raise it to $500 to get a gun permit. And one of the senators, damn it, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I shared it on my personal Facebook page. He actually came out and said, "Do you want more people in Camden and Newark and Patterson to be able to get their hands on guns?" Now, George,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
lived
I
in
want more
you lived
innocent
in New
people
Jersey.
in Camden.
Who lives in Camden? Who lives in Patterson? Thanks, Bug. Who lives in Camden? Who lives in Patterson? Who lives in Newark? It's minorities. I mean, it's 90% minorities. So can you imagine? He said that. Oh, do you want more? Basically, what he said is, you want more black people to have guns. That's basically what he said. You know what I mean? So when you like roll your eyes at the fact that gun control is inherently racist, I mean, they don't want the poor downtrodden to be able to defend themselves because they want to come
They
in
don't
with
want anyone to be able to
mentality.
defend themselves, though. Like I just see it differently. I see this like I get what you're saying, though. Like, and
But I'm playing the game. Do you
in
understand?
the
I'm playing
60s
the
and
game.
70s, that may very well have been the case. But like right now, like this huge push is not just for people; it's for everybody. Like
Right,
they
but
want the nation
what
disarmed
my
right now.
point
It's a
is,
bigger,
my
yeah,
point
like
is that we may need to make people understand, and it's like it goes back to the whole reason we're doing this podcast, right? It's all about the convention of states. Is that you need to find common ground here with people, right? And you need to like when we first talked about the convention of states, what I said was, this would be a bipartisan measure because if you get the local congressmen, the local senators, the state senators, state assemblymen to realize I'm never going to get in Congress if Dianne Feinstein is allowed to die basically in Washington. You know what I mean? Or
but a
you
lot of
know,
these people don't even want like this. That's the thing about the state legislators. Like a lot of them don't have ambitions to go to Washington. Like there are some,
but there
but
are
there's
enough
only
that
like a
do.
handful in a given class of senators or House
Yeah, but
reps.
one of those reasons why is because there are no jobs in Washington. It's like making it to the NBA if you're thinking about it, right? Think about it. If you go from college, there's how many college basketball teams? 181 that are Division One. Now you're talking about getting those kids to go to 30 basketball teams in the NBA. You got like 2 new jobs that open for every team every year, right? So you're talking 60 new kids that have an opportunity to go into the NBA. It's almost identical. And when you're talking about going to Congress, there's no chance of you running for in New Jersey. There is no chance right now for anybody in the state legislature to run against Menendez or Cory Booker. Cory Booker will be there. He will be there longer than that plastic bottle or that solar panel that you just threw in your backyard.
I
If
mean,
he doesn't die.
he'll be. I mean, look, there's always that argument. Well, then vote him out or whatever. But in the end, like when you look at these guys, like this is why I love convention of states so much because it's really just the state legislators. Like And when you focus only on the state legislators and you remove governors, you remove the entire federal government from the process, and you've just got these dudes. And you know, the more I watch these legislatures around the country, and you know, last year in particular, I watched a lot because there was a lot of action with convention of states last year. We were looking at potentially 6 or 7. We ended up with 4, but like that added on. But in the end, like in the process, I'm watching all these different legislatures speak and debate and whatever. And like these people are dudes, man. Like they're just regular folks. You know, the one guy, I play it on the show all the time. There's the one guy, I think it was in South Carolina, who now passed it last year. And they were like these dudes are like, Mark Meckler asked me, he said, "You guys do politics?" And I do. And they cut him off. And he was like, "I'm a farmer." He was like, "Well, yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, you know," like, and he had to apologize. He's like, "We're statesmen, but we're farmers." He's like, Mr. Whoever, like the person who was sitting next to him, you know, he's like, "We're statesmen, but we're farmers." And what he means is what's true. Most legislators are like that. It's not a career position. It's not something you get into and stay in forever.
I
They
agree
come
with
in, they
you.
do 2 years, they get out, they go back to the private sector. Most of them have businesses that they're running, or you know, careers that they're doing as well. Like, and so those, because they're still very much in tune with the people, is the reason why the founders gave them this much power. Because the problem with it, though, is that many of them don't understand the Constitution, as many regular folks don't understand the Constitution.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I could tell you the fact they don't teach any of this anymore in school
what's
at
that?
all. They don't teach any of this in
No,
school
right.
at all.
But that's what I'm
At
saying. So
all.
like when, like the biggest challenge right now with these legislators is just to get them to understand what Article 5 is, and to get all the fear tactics out of their head. Like get them to actually read something. Like get them to actually look at factual information. Like once like someone like John Bircheside or someone like gets in there, "Oh, it's gonna go crazy. The convention's gonna rewrite the whole constitution. It's gonna be the," like once they get in their head with that crap and they get there before anyone else does, that's it. It's over. To get them out of that mindset is like friggin', it's impossible. But in South Carolina, they were able to do it. Like grassroots kept showing up to these guys, like, "Look," and they kept showing up in mass. And eventually, these guys were like, "Hey, maybe I should look into this more." And upon reading more and upon learning about it and getting into Madison's notes, and getting into what the founders really were doing during the original convention and what really went down, and they both say it, they're like, "Yeah, I had to read my way to supporting this." They've been trying to get South Carolina for like 5 years, 6 years. And every year they got shot down because of that, until they finally started reading a book. And then they acknowledge it. They acknowledge it. They're like another guy comes up. I got the clip. Another guy comes up right after. He's like, "Just like you, I had to read my way to supporting convention of states." And it's like, if more and more grassroots can fire up these local yokels and get them reading, and provide them with the content, like provide them, don't make them search for it, get it to them. That's what they did in South Carolina, and it worked. And that's all you really need to do. Like that's something people could tangibly do right now to put a stop to all this shit. Like think about it. Term limits, fiscal restraints, and government overreach. There's no partisanism in those issues. There's none. The
How
only
many
people that hate
states?
that are
How many
Marxists.
states are on board right now? 18.
19.
And how many states have it pending?
More than the 34 that we need. I got to go pull up my site, and I have them all listed on the website.
Is it on
But
the
there's
COS site?
what's that?
Is it on the COS site?
Yeah, it's easier to read on because it's right on the front page. If you go to the patriotthinktank.com/COS, don't forget to pick up a super cool T-shirt while you're there.
Right, it is.
Hold on.
It's Christmas season, and
It is
you guys
Christmas
need a
season,
gift.
and
Do you
I
have any
do have.
Black Monday cyber sales?
So here, if you look, you know what? Here, I'll just share my screen. Why don't I do that so we're not just like alienating our the people watching? So hold on, I understand. Da, da, da. There we go. There we go. Give me one sec, and pow. All right. So this one right here. Let me
Beautiful.
try and zoom that in a little.
I don't know. I Google Patriot Think Tank and it shows me a picture of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, Google's not particularly fond of us. So these are the states that have passed right here. These are the states that are pending. So that by pending, it means they either passed one house or they at least have a resolution written that they can propose. All right. So it's easier there. They don't have, like, here, they have nothing. There's no resolution.
So,
There's no
Seattle,
nothing
you need to write your legislature over there in New
in New
York.
York. New York has has one pending. Pennsylvania is one we're looking at big this year. Um, what is it? North Carolina. Do I not have them in this list? North
North
Carolina is
Carolina's
a
there.
big one too. Yeah, North Carolina's right here. So they're a big one too. And if you
North
click
Carolina's
here,
turning into a bluer state. Uh,
what's that?
North Carolina seems to be turning bluer and bluer.
Well, we gained seats there in the state legislatures this year. So Cause feels good about it. So I feel good about it. Because North Carolina, we actually passed the House one year and then didn't pass their Senate. And then the next year we passed their Senate, but not
It
their
didn't
House.
count the House.
And now this year we've gained more seats in both with cause-friendly legislators. So we're optimistic, right? There, Cause is expecting about 6 more states this year. So and so my thing about the 6 more states is if we get 4 or 5 more states again, like eventually this is going to become a snowball effect. Like eventually the fear factor is going to get less and less because those who are like who won't read and aren't, don't know what's going on, those people will end up friggin' all right, why is another state getting on board? Why is another state getting on board? Why is another state getting on board? Like, and it's going to be right around 23 or so before the fireworks start in the media. Because the media, the Marxists are deathly afraid. Like, everything about the entities that are controlling society today, from WEF to the UN, to all of their subsidiaries in the media, corporations, they're all deathly afraid of conventionist states. All of them. So you can bet that once it gets to, I'm thinking it's around 22 or 23, but like once it gets to the point where it's like, wow, okay, this thing keeps growing and it ain't stopping. But like once it gets to that level, the media will begin to bring on the John Birch Society will be on every friggin' MSN show that there is.
It's
But
funny. I've been training my daughter with questions because I realized that you can't fight what's going on in schools right now. Like you just can't fight it. There's just not enough people to fight what's going on. Like she was handed a SEL survey yesterday. But I'm lucky that I have a strong-willed daughter who listens to everything I say, right? And like I've been just teaching her little things. And we were at Thanksgiving dinner, and my father-in-law was hysterical because I was like, "Alexa, what's taxation?" And she comes to me, she goes, "Taxation is theft." and, and I was like,
oh,
I
that's
was like,
great.
Alexa, what do we say about climate change? Climate change is real. Climate crisis is not. So they're going through the colonies now. They're going through they're learning about the colonies, and they're going to learn about the Constitution and all of that lately. So I had to teach her because she had no idea what the 3 branches of government was. Because in schools now they teach to pass a test. They teach to pass a test, and then it's the learning loss is almost immediate, right?
Right.
It's not like when we were in school that, but the memorization and things like that. It's just different now, and I don't want to get a discussion about that, but so I was going over the branches of government and how to make a I'm just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill and all of that, and going through that. So then I started explaining this to her, and I started explaining this to her and telling her what it is, and then she was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, there are other ways to do things." And I said, and I'm drilling her because I'm setting her up with questions that are they want to talk about critical thinking in school, right? But the fact is, they don't want critical thinkers in school, right? They just want to tell you how to critically think, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
So I'm just setting her up with this can you explain Article 5 of the Constitution, please? And that's when we get to the Constitution, and she's gonna go through the Constitution, and they're gonna be like, "You have freedom of speech, and you have this, and blah blah blah, and this is how a bill becomes a law." And and I know my daughter because she's a ball buster. You know what I mean? Like she just is. Like when she was given this survey the other day, she told the teacher, she said, "Excuse me, my father said I'm not allowed to fill out any surveys unless he sees them first." And she was very polite, and she didn't fill out. And she came home. She said, "Daddy, they tried to give me a survey, and it was a social emotional learning. Like, do you know how to make friends? Are you well behaved? Are you a good person?" Like, what 5-year-old is gonna
Do you
say
really
no?
feel
You
like a
know what I mean?
boy?
Well, yeah,
Basic questions.
right. So, um, and God bless her. But I'm setting her up with all this information about the COS and about Article 5 specifically. I'm like, I just want you to ask, because we've had this conversation before where I feel like the teachers, and it's not. And again, when I say teachers, I don't mean individual teachers. Okay, I mean teacher unions that push this propaganda, right?
Right.
They want to, and there's I'll show you posts where they say it out loud, that teachers know better for kids than their parents do. You know what I mean? And they want the kids to believe that the teachers are basically smarter than the parents. You know?
Yeah,
So I
I warned my daughter about that, and when I warned her, she was like, "Oh, Dad, they've been doing that."
yeah,
She's like, "They've been doing." She's my
yeah.
human geography teacher. I'm like, "What the f is human geography?" Like these names that they come up with, dude, for
Well,
stuff.
that's why
It's
I
just
told you
like,
about the new math, because what I've realized about new math is it's the same as old math with different names, but they just don't want you to know what the hell it is, and because they want to make you feel stupid. But when you break it down, you're like, "Oh, I know how to do it. We just didn't call it that." You know what I'm
right.
saying? And that's when we had the conversation last time. But I'm arming her with this question: Can when they start talking about how to make an amendment, how to make a bill, she's ready in her back pocket. Can you please explain Article 5 of the Constitution? And her teacher is going to sit up there and not know the
You
answer.
have to look it up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, and,
Because
but, and
they're
that's what you need to
prepared
do
for the
with your
lesson
kids.
they're ready
And I
to
got this
teach.
from you, that you told me. You were like, educate your kids. And I've been a big advocate. If you look at my Facebook page, you'll see it says, talk to your children about politics because somebody else is doing it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And
It's
like, and we saw in
100%
this
true.
last election, like, I don't want to get into the whole ballot harvesting thing, but to be honest, one of the reasons why there wasn't a big red wave is because we saw a record number of turnouts in 18 to 24-year-olds, like record number of turnouts, and they're all voting blue because Joe Biden had 32 TikTok influencers in the White House. These are 18-year-old kids that were on Dance Moms, for crying out loud. He had a kid from Dance Moms in the White House so that she can spew to her 8 million followers. She don't know shit from shat. You know what I mean? Like, she
No,
posts things like,
I
"Why
know.
does anybody need an AR-15?" You know why? None of your business. That's
Right.
why. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, I'll give you
No,
5 reasons I need an AR-15. None of your business.
yeah,
That's
it's
4.
true. And in the
But
end, like, look,
but
if
that's
we
why
don't
you
teach
need to
them,
talk to your kids about politics.
yeah, and I was talking about this with Mike Arnold, the state director over in Massachusetts for Convention of States, and he was saying, we were chatting through this, and he was like, said something that kind of summed it up. Was like, you can't look, or you can't count on the teaching to take place in the classroom. You have to do the teaching at the kitchen table for things that are eminently important. It has to be taught at the kitchen table, and it's 100% true, because right now the schools are in complete disalignment from a values perspective with parents. They're in a completely different world from a values perspective than parents are. And the bottom line is, if you leave it to them, they're going to. This is where you get those parents. In our day, it was really colleges that were pumping the garbage. But like, you get these parents, their kids come out of college, and they're like, "What the hell did I do?" Like, I sent my kid, did they come back to hate me? Like, what just happened, right? And they're shocked by it. But it's like, They're shocked by it because we trusted, these schools, and our parents and whatnot trusted these schools and institutions to do the right thing, because in their day they felt that they did, even though in their day it actually started to begin where, like the
You know,
hippies were the first indoctrinated generation. They're the first demoralized generation where the Soviets actually loudly claimed
but
success.
I've been talking to a lot of parents about this, and a lot of parents. I mean, like I said, I got a decent amount of votes. I spoke to a lot of people, right? And now I'm starting to talk to people like my wife, my Joey, my buddy Joey. You know Joey, you remember Joey. Like I speak to him, and and so one of the reasons conspiracy theories don't take off, even though things are true, you know what I mean? Even though things don't make sense, like we talk about psyops all the time, like these school shootings that it just something just doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? Where somebody who has no money and is down on his luck all of a sudden has $8,000 to buy 17 firearms and walk into a school in body armor, and like, something doesn't seem right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's very hard, and I mean, George, I've had a ton of these conversations. It's very, and I don't want to call it a rabbit hole, but it's very hard for people to believe that their government doesn't have their best interest.
It's hard.
It's
Well, the
very
thing
hard
is,
to believe that schools don't have your best interest. So when you talk to parents, sometimes I talk to my wife, and she can't wrap
but
her
look
head
what you're
around the
asking
fact.
them to believe, right? Like, think about it for a second. Like, and this is where, because I've been down these rabbit holes with the Solomon Ash conformity experiments, and Dr. Mateus Desmet with his mass formation. Think of what you're asking them to believe, right? You're trying to convince someone who's lived a whole life believing things are a certain way, and you're now trying to present to them that you've been lied to your whole life. It's almost literally like telling somebody you've been in a matrix all of this time. Like, and we're unplugging you. Everything that you know to be real is not real, right? The world does not look this way. The world does not react this way. The world does not think this way. This is not good. This is not great. History did not happen like that. You're trying to like undo decades of damage, and it's just impossible. The only way that it can be done is if someone does it internally. Like, if something happens, and like it's kind of like the kid who was, Antifa was marching by his apartment, and he's up at his window like, yeah, yeah, and then a brick comes through his window, and he's like, what the hell, right? Like, that's a wake up moment, right? That might be a moment where it's like, well, I don't understand. I'm on their side. I'm cheering them on. Why did they throw a brick through my window? Like those are the kind of things that have to happen to somebody, where the woke mob now turns on you, right? You broke from the narrative a little bit because you weren't keeping up on the latest friggin' terminology, and what to say and what you're allowed to say, and you said
Well,
something
that's
that was
what
cool
the
2 weeks
left is
ago.
starting to eat themselves. They really
Yeah.
are. They're
Yeah,
starting to
because
eat
now you
themselves.
say something that was cool 2 weeks ago, but now what? You didn't see the news last week. You can't
Yeah,
say that anymore, and now everyone's just freaking bashing you, and like you have that moment where you're like, "Holy shit,
bro. I
everyone
was
was right. These
behind.
people are crazy."
I mean, New Jersey, so I was in Montclair, and Montclair is like, it's like, I don't know, L.A. for you, or Austin, Texas. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, you know, and I was behind somebody who just had every bumper sticker you can imagine. She had the Bernie bumper sticker, the Biden Harris bumper sticker, the Save Ukraine. She had the pineapple with the rainbow. She had the Love
Did you see the
Wins,
Biden
the
Fetterman one?
Mickey show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But she had every single thing, and I'm like, why don't you just get a bumper sticker that says "I'm for the latest thing"? Like, that's just get it. I'm for the latest thing. Whatever the latest thing is for, I'm for. Like, stop putting bumper stickers on your car, lady, because it's like
Right.
you're
You're
not
running
gonna
out
be
of
able to see
space.
you out of your back window.
Put
Just
an "I'm
get
a
one thing
Marxist"
that
and
says
move on.
I'm for the latest thing. What is it? Is it Biden? Is it Ukraine? Is it
Right.
Justin
I'm
wants
a
us to talk
Marxist,
about
and just keep
FTX.
it simple. 3 words. And you're good. And the funny thing is these people don't even know that they're Marxists. That's how brilliant the execution of this thing was. Like that's how amazing the execution of this thing was, is that these people don't even know they're Marxists. Like when I sit here and say, even conservatives group everyone on the Democratic ticket in the same in the same camp. Like people don't realize there are conservatives who don't realize what's going on with World
Oh,
Economic Forum and all this
the
stuff,
same-sex
just like
marriage
there are
bill.
Democrats.
Did you see
So it's like,
13
go ahead.
Republicans voted for the same-sex marriage bill?
Oh, I don't know.
Which
I didn't
already
know.
has been the Supreme Court has already said it's illegal. Like this bill has no other reason as just to,
Right,
it's
just to
just
make people, it's virtue signaling, and that's the thing. Like, but when you look at it, like all of these things that they've been doing, and the brilliance of, I hate to say brilliance because it's so damn devious, but like, but it's truly the globalists who have been around forever, right? They've been around for long before they even started this last initiative, like which was what, the mid 50s, like long before that, these people were around. And these one world government folks have not gone
oh,
away, and they're friggin', and whether they've used the UN, they're using the WEF, they're doing it. They've got the amount of planning, patience, and freaking work that went into what they've now, it's executed now.
so wait, are
Like,
you saying McCarthy was right?
yeah, sounds kind of twisted. I mean, he was right in the sense that, yeah, they were everywhere. He was wrong in the sense that he was like lost his mind and was like pointing at everyone, calling him a communist. But
Yeah,
like,
but at some point it becomes where you're just like no one will, like that's how I felt when I ran for board this time. It's like, bro, none of you guys are listening. Like this is all right in front
yeah,
of
you
your
can
face and you're
appreciate
not
that now, right?
listening. Like
Yeah.
you're not listening. Like I'm sure, like for instance, our BOE, they just passed a resolution last month where if there's a guest speaker in town, it has to be approved by the Board of Ed. They passed a resolution that to have guest speakers, it no longer needs to be approved by the Board of Ed. Because what if somebody wants to talk and there's not another meeting for 3 weeks and they're not available for that time? Like, and then my superintendent actually goes, well, what if let's say there's an alumni that's a brigadier general from, he was an alumni from Belleville and he's a brigadier general and just happens to be in town for Thanksgiving and he wants to talk, to the high school. Are we going to shut him down because we have to wait for the next? Yes, yes, we are. Because you know what? The first thing I did was, how many brigadier generals are from Belleville? Zero. Okay. But what they want to do is they want to be able to put anybody in. Mind you, my kid wasn't allowed to have a dress down day because it didn't go in front of the Board of Ed. But now you're going to tell
Right.
me people can talk to high school students without it getting approved by the Board of Ed? And the Board of Ed voted for yes for it because he was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll check with you first." Like, no, you won't, because
Right.
you just passed a resolution that says he doesn't have to. So you're taking
Yeah.
his word that, you know what I mean? And people don't even like that. I'm talking far right people don't want to believe what they're, don't believe
Right, and
what their
that's my
eyes are
point, though, is
showing
that
them.
even people on the right don't believe that, like, that this WEF thing, this great, even though they're
Oh my
telling us,
God, they're saying it out loud. You can
right,
go
they're
to
saying it
Twitter
out
and
loud,
watch
but,
it.
like, on the same turn, like, there are Democrats who are, like, just regular Democrats, like, not Marxists, not like, but they're so into the two teams thing that it's like they can't, like a Bill Mayer, type, right? Where he clearly sees through all the nonsense, of the woke stuff as far as the transgenders and this and that. Like he clearly sees how ridiculous that is. And he still is an advocate for free speech on all ends and doesn't waver from it. Like the Democratic Party has left those people. Like those people, like we could still argue about abortion and we can argue about unions, and like there's still plenty of stuff to go back and argue about when it's all said and done. But in the end, like right now, this needs to be a situation where whatever Democrats are out there that are in that mindset of like there's nothing happening right now. Those people can be brought over to convention of states. Like those people can be brought in because they still, when you look at it, right, like term limits for all officials, right? Everybody's for that. Everybody's deep state, everybody term limits, SCOTUS, everybody term limits, right? when you look when you look at fiscal restraints, who takes the position that they want the government to have no budget, right? When you talk to, so if you go up to a rational minded person, Democrat or Republican, you say, hey, what if we were able directly, without federal government involvement, to impose a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States on the federal government, right? What if we were able to just abolish the income tax and remove the 16th Amendment, which never should have been added anyway? Was added on because they couldn't get it done legally. So they had to make a constitutional amendment to add that, right? Well, it turned out to be a wealth sharing bastardization of people's income and a control mechanism for wealth sharing. It needs to be. What if we could do that without without asking permission,
You
right?
realize we fought the revolution over a 3% tax rate?
Right. Yeah. Well, well, that's the thing, right? Like they were trying to get income tax forever, but like think about it, right? What if we could stop a president's ability from utilizing regulatory agencies? They're weaponizing them, right? For weaponizing agencies like that. What if we could stop that without worrying about who wins an election, without worrying about, like, without having to vote for that guy who then goes and breaks our heart because he gets eaten by the machine
Well, yeah,
and doesn't
it's
do
funny. I
anything.
remember because like because it's not a secret. You supported Trump, I supported Trump, but I even remember you complaining about Trump. With He had no problem raising the national debt like crazy.
Right. Right.
He had no problem ruling by executive order, and
I was
this
never all in on Trump. I was
these are
never one of
things
those
that
people who've lost their mind over Trump. Like, I was never that person. It turned
Oh,
out that
show him your
I was
MAGA tattoo on your show him your MAGA tattoo on your tramp stamp. Show him
I did have
the
the
MAGA
Trump
tramp stamp.
I did have the Trump board game. I will say that. But like, but even then, like with Trump, like, I was pleasantly surprised with his policies until he actually enacted those policies. I was deathly afraid. Like, I had no idea what was going to come from this man. I had no idea, because the one thing I know about Trump, just because I followed him my whole life, I was a huge fan, growing up, which is why I had the board game. My mom got it for me. But like, one thing you knew about Trump, though, that was clear as day, is that Trump is about Trump. like like they ain't nothing. There's nothing comes before Trump in Trump's world. Like Trump is number one. It's like most people are like God, family, country. He's like Trump, God, family, country.
George, hold this down for 1 second. I have to run in the other room. I have an issue. Be right back.
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm gonna wind it down soon. But anyway, yeah, that's Trump's. That's Trump's thing. But the point that I'm making to Ruben, though, is trying to get reasonable minded Democrats, like Kennedy Democrats, right? Like people who still, will fight for free speech, who don't think hate speech, is something that you can regulate legally, right? Like, unless it incites violence. But other than that, I can call you whatever the hell I want, and there's nothing you could do to me, right? And someone can call me whatever the hell they want, and there's nothing those Democrats, they're out there. They're still out there, and they're incredibly disillusioned by the party, and a lot of them are just alienated by Trump. But that being said, even though they're alienated by Trump, let me. There we go. So when he comes back, we'll bring him on. But they're alienated, but they're just in a position where they can't bring themselves to vote for Donald Trump, or even just to admit that they're conservative. Like, but they know that what's going on in their party right now is insanity. Like, they know they don't support, men and women's sports and all this craziness. They don't support any of that. Those are the people we need to bring over. Like, we need to bring those people over, and we need to unite, and we need to stop the whole. Right now, it's Americans versus Marxists, not Democrats versus Republicans. Right? When it's all said and done and the Marxists are squashed, then we can go ahead and we can start to get back to arguing about abortion and unions and whatever. But right now, like, all that needs, this is like, this is one of those situations right now where the nation's in jeopardy. The nation is under attack. No one recognizes it. No one's paying. Not to say no one recognizes it, but the majority of Americans are still walking around in a coma. And the nation, China's been at war with us for the last 30, 40 years. And no one's paying attention. No one wants to look at it. Everyone's just pretending it's not going on. So at some point, those reasonable minded Democrats who love America and the conservatives that love America. Like it's kind of like brother sister or two brothers, right? Like we can argue with each other all day, but right now somebody else, these Marxists, are coming in and starting crap. So now we both turn and beat the crap out of them. There he is.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. But like, so what I was just saying, I don't know if you've been hearing me over your thing, but I'm just saying like this whole thing is like two brothers, like Democrats and Republicans. Like you can fight over stuff all day long, but like right now, Marxists are stepping in as a third party that's attacking both of you or attacking either one of you. And now both of you need to get together and slap up, slap up the third party. And as soon as you knock them out, then you go back to arguing amongst yourselves, and it's right back to business as usual. But that's kind of how it has to be. And when it comes to convention of states, like that's where I feel like the three issues in convention of states are universal. Like they've done multiple polls, majority of voters in every party, independent, Democrat, Republican, are in favor of convention of states, of the issues, of the three topics. So the question then is, why are we still waiting? Like, why are we still waiting? And why does it have to be partisan when it gets like we're sitting there, people like, oh, we got a bunch of Republicans. I'm like, we got a bunch of Republicans in this state Senate, this state legislature. It's like, dude, we should not like. Someone has to make this pitch to the Democrat ones too that are not Marxists. Like, someone needs to handpick these state legislators who are Democrats but not Marxists and make the same case, because nobody likes the relationship between corporate America and friggin' and government. And right now, what these people are doing with these ESG scores is exactly that. They're exactly that. Like who voted for freaking for Fink, CEO of BlackRock? Who voted for this guy? Nobody. But he's going to be the one calling the shots. At least at a mid-level, he's the one calling the shots. Because it doesn't matter what you want when only what they want is available. Right? Like you can sit there and be like, well, I have free choice. Do you really?
Yeah.
Because like you're going into a store that only has products that they've approved.
Mm-hmm.
So you have free choice to choose any product they say you can choose.
That are owned by every product in that store is owned by one of 6 companies.
Right. So if they give you permission, then you have free choice. You have the free will to pick what they want you to. And that's the truth, though. And they're doing it out in the open. And it's like, this is why I say it's not about Democrats and Republicans. Like that shit is old. Democrat Republican thing is old. It's tired. It's noise right now. It's noise. This is one of those things where every red-blooded American needs to pick up his pitchfork and get the freaking mob together and go after the freaking big boys, and go after these WEF people, metaphorically, of course, right? So like, but like everyone needs to be in the same gang, so to speak, and that's just and I love the fact that Paul here puts up, you're right. So I could, he put this up before I made that statement, but I could just use this constantly.
Yeah, save it. Screenshot that right now.
I can just keep popping it up there every time I make a statement and be like,
and when time travel, when time travel comes out, we could go back to that day when you broke your ankle, when we were arguing about smoking pot in the dorm.
Be like, you're right. All right. Anyway, it's getting, it's 7:00 now, so we kind of 10 o'clock by you.
10 o'clock over here for crying out loud.
Well, you're living in the.
I'm in the future, bro. I'm in the future.
Skies from the future.
Look at me. I'm in the future.
Oh, God, that's funny, dude.
Oh, right, man.
Hold on. Let me.
Hopefully, there's the daylight savings time is going to be gone next year. That's one thing. We can put that in the convention of states, so it's not dark out at 5 o'clock and freaking.
I'm not sure where that would fall in with the three topics. But maybe we can get creative and see where we can. Maybe it's government overreach. All right. So, Ruben, I appreciate you jumping on today. Folks, once again, thank you for getting us over 10,000 followers. I appreciate that. We're at, I think, 10,300 on Facebook now. YouTube is moving. Yeah. YouTube is, I just filled out all the monetization stuff for Facebook today.
Nice.
YouTube is kind of slow. So like we actually have enough subscribers. We got like 1,300 on YouTube, which is, but YouTube like doesn't, we keep getting strikes. So like I've forever had, like we've been stricken now. It's been a total, I think, of 4 times in the last year and a half. So like, and I'm under strike right now. Actually, I have a strike against me right now until like December 9th or something like that.
You got that blue ink on you.
So I always, so like 4 times, that's like a year's worth of strikes. You know what I mean? Because like each time you get a strike, they ban you for 7 days the first time. You don't get to do anything. You just disappear from YouTube. You're in the ether. Then then you come back, but you still have that strike on you for a full 3 months. And then if you strike again, it's 2 weeks that they ban you for, and then you still got another, your 3 months starts again. So really, having been stricken 4 times, we've been it's now, that's almost a year, right? It is a year. It's 12 months of just operating with a strike on you. So it's probably why they don't distribute my stuff, I'm guessing, because it seems weird that every once in a blue, like all these videos, like for Facebook, I just dropped the video, dude, and it takes off. Like the produced videos and stuff for like Great Reset and those things, like, I just drop them and they take off. But like for YouTube, I drop it there, and then I have to like share it to a million groups and like do all this like extra work, and I'm just tired of it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna focus on Facebook.
You know what? That just shows you that everything you say is true, because it makes no sense to limit you, no matter what you're saying, right? Because at the end of the day, they want more viewers to their platform for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So they're
It's just,
willing to
it's like someone made a
demonetize
decision.
themselves just because they're afraid of content. It just goes to show almost what you're
Well, they're
saying
being
is.
told to do it though, Rube. Like that's the thing. Like,
But that's
they
what I mean.
can't look at it like it's a business model.
They're
Like they're
proving
being,
your point above the ESG thing
no,
by
yeah,
doing what they like. They're not hiding any of this shit.
no.
Like they're not
I mean, even
hiding it.
Facebook has shadow banned me a couple of times. Like I know when they shadow ban me because it's like a total freeze on my channel. Like everything stops getting views at once. And it's like, how is that even possible? It'll happen for like 2 days. And then all of a sudden, like everything gets released. And it always happens when I put out a video that's taking off. Like if I put out a video that takes off quickly, then like all of a sudden, that's how I notice it, because I see how quickly it's taking off. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be it. Because you never know, right? Sometimes you think a video is brilliant and it goes nowhere. And then you just think one's half-assed, and all of a sudden everybody's sharing it all over the sun. So it's like you have this video, you put it out there, and it's like taking off. You're like, oh, wow, okay. So you're paying attention to it. And then all of a sudden it just stops on a number. Like it'll be like on 3,472 views. And then like a day later, it's still at 3,742 views. It's like, come on, dude. Not one person has seen this video. And like you force feed it to people on Facebook. So I know somebody friggin' strolled by it. You know what I mean? But and then you go look at your other videos and realize they're all frozen in time too. But it doesn't happen that much. Facebook in general has been very good as far as not censoring. It's like all of the material that got us censored on YouTube, we didn't get struck for any of that on Facebook. Like all of that went right through. So like, I can't really complain, and it's paid off, because now that we've hit the 10,000 mark, it's it's significant.
Hey, I just want to thank Fat Boy and Bug for jumping on.
Yep.
And I got news for you. Somebody else is watching, but he's afraid to comment because he's texting me. And I think he's working on his comb over. I think he's going to get the spray hair next. You know? But he texted me that he's watching. He's busting my balls. That's why I keep checking my phone, because Richard H. Tompkins is texting me. So he's watching as well. He's on the YouTube.
Nice.
He's on the tube of views.
The tube of views. All right, guys. Well, Ruben, again, thanks for jumping on.
All right.
Everyone, thanks. Paul, the Phi Kappa Tau. Let's do it. Going far, baby.
Cheers. All right, call me
Cheers.
later, Coach.
Yep, I will.